Binka turned around in surprise to see Winfred, half naked, and the chamberlain pressed his temples as if he had a headache and was angry. "Don't be angry, Joseph. It's just that I woke up late. It's normal for people to go out at that time, so it's understandable." Winfred tried to appease the chamberlain with a charming smile, but this only angered him more. "Your Highness." Since finding the handkerchief, Winfred had been incredibly generous to Binka. Although today's incident was clearly his fault, he didn't even bother to scold her. "If this keeps up, she'll end up pampering herself like a maid," the chamberlain said, shaking his head. Meanwhile, Winfred, who had dressed quickly, grabbed his arm and pulled him close. "Let's go quickly. I need you to get out of the way so Binka can make my bed. It wasn't like I overslept and my schedule got delayed, so let's go quickly. It was like, let's get out of the way so Binka can do her thing." It was difficult to distinguish who was the crown prince and who was the maid. And that afternoon, Joseph, who was still worried about what happened that morning, couldn't help but ask the crown prince, "Your Highness, do you happen to like Binka?" "Hey, Binka, do you like her?" Winfred, engrossed in the paperwork he had to do that day, asked with a bewildered expression. It was a sudden question. "Yeah. I like Binka." But the confusion was short-lived, and Winfred nodded happily. And that answer made the boss's head, which had been pounding all day, hurt even more. "Your Highness, what is that?" The crown prince of a nation had feelings for a maid. And Binka was only 25 years older than Winfred. Sure, it was a little late for his age, but that wasn't what was important at the time. "That is not right, Your Highness." "Yeah? Because?" Winfred tilted her head with a bewildered expression. "Why the hell wouldn't you like Binka?" And Joseph beat his chest in frustration. He thought the crown prince was an intelligent man, but he couldn't believe that he couldn't understand something so obvious. "Your Highness, you are the crown prince of the great palace empire. You harbor feelings for a maiden. If this is discovered, only Binka will be seriously harmed." What are you talking about? "I'm not in love with Binka." "It's ridiculous." At Joseph's words, Winfred stood speechless, his jaw hanging loose as he protested in an absurd voice. He didn't understand what the chamberlain had been saying all this time. "Did you say you liked it?" "Yeah. I like it. It's like having an older sister. Binka is so loving and trustworthy." At Winfred's response, Joseph finally realized that they were talking about different things and sank into his chair in despair. If that's the case, then you should have said it from the beginning. Didn't I misunderstand you for nothing? No, isn't it obvious? There's no way I see Binka as a woman, It meant that he already had someone in mind. But Winfred did not dare say this to the chamberlain, who was unaware of Isla's existence, so she swallowed her words. If he had known of his deep affection for Isla from the beginning, this misunderstanding would not have arisen. Even the reason he became close to Binka was because of a handkerchief that held precious memories of that girl, so there was no way Winfred would be captivated by another woman. "Looks like I have a sister," Joseph repeated with a blank expression, as if he had just finished a fight and was completely burned. "Yes, she is just like my older sister. Binka is an only child and her mother is sick. That's why we have so much in common." Winfred responded with a sincere smile, saying that even his appearance was similar to hers. Seeing him happy, it seemed that Binka had been a great comfort to him, who had grown up alone as an only child with no siblings. Now that I think about it, he does look like His Highness. If you looked closely at their facial features, you could see that they look quite similar, with long eyelashes and slightly drooping eyes. No, that doesn't matter now. Luckily, Winfred cared for and followed Binka like an older sister, but the fact that her deceitful attitude persisted. It meant they had to put an end to rumors like the crown prince is said to have fallen in love with a lowly maid, before they spread. Anyway, if His Highness appreciates Binka too much, people will misunderstand him. They could even accuse her of favoritism for bewitching His Highness. That could be true. Yes, I will be more careful from now on. At Joseph's continued explanation, Winfred nodded in understanding. In fact, he didn't care about other people's misunderstandings, but he was worried that one day, when Isla returned to her parents' embrace, she would hear rumors that the crown prince enjoyed a promiscuous private life. He was already in a bad mood because his dream was a disaster, so he thought it would be best not to cause unnecessary misunderstandings. At Winfred's cold response, Joseph finally felt relieved and cleared his chest. He felt as if his life had been shortened by 10 years. It smells good. Isla inhaled deeply the scent of the unknown flower. Since training had ended early for once, and he had been given permission to wander freely as long as he didn't leave the annex, he was enjoying a peaceful walk. The flowers, which smelled sweetly of chocolate, were curious in appearance, with small purple buds hanging in grape-shaped clusters. The aroma seemed to calm his troubled mind a little. I wonder if it tastes like chocolate. Isla pressed her nose to the chocolate-scented flower again. Of course, he studied toxicology, so he wouldn't do something stupid like put an unknown plant in his mouth. But then, there was a noise behind her. "Hello, gorgeous. What are you doing there?" I couldn't ignore who he was. After all, there was only one person in the world who called her pretty with that impeccable nickname, Gerald Senespawn. Isla remained silent, her face buried in the flowers. She already disliked him, but now she accused him of interfering with her free time. I didn't understand why he kept coming every day, even if it was so spaced out. "You're not going to eat that, are you? I have heard that the flower is poisonous." "Is it poisonous?" She thought she had learned about most plants that were poisonous, but upon hearing that this sweet-smelling flower was poisonous, Isla opened her mouth without realizing it. "Yeah. They said it wasn't poisonous, but it did have a little poison in it. His name is Duranta. You'll probably never see her again. They say it is weak against the cold and only grows in our country." Gerald, with a smug expression, unleashed a torrent of information that she had not even asked for. It was only natural, since he had taken the opportunity to show off his knowledge in front of her. In reality, the person he wanted to show off his knowledge to was not someone he had any particular opinion of. "Ah, is it a plant native to the Inselkov kingdom? Then I wouldn't know. Unless it's poisonous, even less so." I was just thinking about that. Let's eat something really delicious, not just something that smells like chocolate. I brought it to you. And Gerald, impatient with Isla's lukewarm reaction, pulled out his secret weapon, a chocolate cake he'd gotten from the chef. The cake he offered to Isla, who was hungry after finishing her training, looked delicious, but she abruptly cut it and rejected it. "Thank you, but I'm done. I don't eat much." There wasn't much time left for dinner, so she was sure that if she filled her stomach with something like cake, Byron would criticize her. Well, actually, although that wasn't the only reason, Isla wasn't particularly attracted to him. It wasn't that he disliked the cake, he just didn't like the idea of sharing it. Weren't the two close enough to share a cake? But Gerald didn't seem to believe it, and seemed quite surprised by her rejection. "Oh no, why the hell? There has to be a reason? The truth is that I don't want to eat it." Since I couldn't tell him I don't want to eat with you, Isla made up a vague excuse and returned to the annex. She felt that if she stayed away any longer, she would have to deal with Gerald's constant complaints. And Gerald had no intention of letting her go so easily. "Don't do that, come with me." He reached out and tried to grab Isla's wrist. But she didn't allow anyone to touch her easily. The first time, she let her guard down and allowed him to stroke her hair, but this time, it was a piece of cake. Isla quickly turned and dodged his hand, and Gerald could only watch her rapid movements with a stunned expression. Do you have eyes in the back of your head? And what did I do to you to make you avoid people so shamefully? He scratched his cheek with an uncomfortable expression. His face seemed to indicate that he didn't understand what kind of girl was so fast. Isla narrowed her eyes and took in the scene. If he had been his usual self, he would not only have avoided it, but he would have counterattacked and twisted Gerald's arm from behind. He didn't even realize he had held back because he knew that would only make the situation worse and he would become a nuisance. Just then, someone appeared who could help Isla out of this situation.